Hello and welcome back for another video on ARK Survival Ascended. And today we're diving into another tips and tricks video with 50 resource gathering and harvesting tips and tricks you'll be wanting to know. The majority of these tips and tricks will be relevant to both games ARK Survival Ascended and Evolved. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Have you ever had a bunch of organic polymer left over and you don't want it to go to waste? But what you can do at the cost of combining it with oil in a cooking pot or an industrial cooker is craft soap, which does not have a spoil timer. So whenever you're in need of polymer, grab your soap, stick it in a grinder, grind it up. Each piece of soap grinded up will give you one organic polymer. So if you grind up a bunch, you'll have a decent amount of it. It's a really good way of preserving organic polymer. This is one that even I didn't know about for a very long time. Typically when creatures harvest a megalodon's corpse, they will never harvest raw prime fish meat. However, if you use a metal pick or hatchet, you'll be able to harvest some of that tasty raw prime fish meat from the corpse. Raw prime fish meat can also be easily harvested from saber-toothed salmon when using the metal sickle. The dire bear's alternate attack can be used on wild beehives to gather 3 times the amount of honey, without damaging the hive and without aggro from the bees inside, and you can return 15 minutes later to do it all over again. This claw attack can be performed when pressing the right mouse button when playing PC, left trigger when playing Xbox, or L2 when playing PlayStation. Honey is an extremely valuable resource in the game, being a main ingredient for a variety of important recipes and has many other uses. And it does have quite a quick spoil timer, but what you can do is give it an unlimited spoil timer by using fishing rods. The fishing rod can be unlocked at level 18. It's really cheap to make. All you need is 12 wood, 50 fiber and 20 thatch, and they can be crafted on the go in your inventory. Craft up a bunch of fishing rods, drag the honey on top, which then gives it an unlimited spoil timer, which can be stored at your base, and whenever you're in need of honey, it can be unequipped from the rod at any point, giving you a bunch of honey at the full spoil timer. A great way to gather fiber when at the early game, or if you don't have access to tames that gather fiber efficiently, is from harvesting the reeds that can be found in many rivers around the map, which can be bettered by using a metal sickle paired with some scuba flippers. Beaver dams can be found near bodies of water at specific locations on the map. There are 6 locations in total. They can be harvested for large amounts of wood, cementing paste, and small amounts of silica pearls, rare flowers, and rare mushrooms. Once accessed, all beavers in the area will become hostile to you. Be sure to take everything out of the dam's inventory or drop unwanted items, which will destroy the dam, allowing for more to respawn. I cannot stress how many times river rocks have saved me when I'm deprived of metal at the early game. They have a very distinctive look when compared to standard harvestable rocks. They have a very smooth surface and are a lot smaller than typical rocks found in the world. They can be found in almost every river throughout the map, and will also be found scattered around the beaches next to rivers. And these rocks can be harvested for decent amounts of metal, which can be an absolute lifesaver when at the early game, when you don't have access to the real metal rocks found in more dangerous areas. Adding to this, a great way to harvest any rocks in the water is with the Ankylosaurus for flint and metal, and the Doedicurus for stone. Both are very slow on land, but are exceptionally good swimmers. They can attack underwater far quicker than they can on land, so you can harvest these rocks extremely quickly with both of these guys. The Dunkleosteus is the Ankylosaurus of the ocean. They are exceptional gatherers in stone, oil, crystal, and metal, and have weight reduction for a wide variety of heavy resources. If you live near the ocean or deep water, I highly recommend taming one, as there are unlimited rocks in the ocean. Typically, an ocean base will be extremely far from mountains and metal nodes, so the Dunkleosteus is vital for bringing in those rare resources. This here is the Swamp Cave, located in the Redwoods right next to the Redwoods Lake. One of the best caves on the map for gathering important resources and farming loot crates. If you're looking to farm cementing paste, you'll be wanting to run this cave with a high level Beelzebufo with a good saddle, the best you can find. The air in the cave is toxic, so you will need a combination of ghillie and scuba to survive, or the best way is to just bring a few gas masks. I'd also recommend bringing a good shotgun with a couple of stacks of ammo, some med brews, and of course some food. Arthropleurs are the danger in this cave, so you ideally want to kill them before they get close. Be sure to strip down butt naked before equipping your gas mask. Arthropleur won't be able to damage your mask if you only wear your gas mask and no other clothing. If you do wear clothes, the spit can break your armor and your gas mask. The Arthropleurs can still damage your player, so you will need to keep an eye on your player's health, which is why we bring med brews. There are hundreds of Meganeura and Titanic Murmur that spawn in this cave. Upon killing these with your frog, it will convert them into cementing paste. You'll be able to farm thousands of cementing paste and chitin in this cave from doing just one run. Another resource that can be harvested in this cave for massive amounts is fiber. A gigantic Antipithecus can fit through the cave entrance. Thousands of fiber and tons of berries can be harvested in seconds, with the primary attack gathering berries and the secondary attack gathering only fiber. And finally, if you're looking to get slot capped in chitin, a Megatherium can be brought to this cave in a cryopod. Of course, for this to work, you need to place down a cryofridge on the outside of the cave. Once past the narrow entrance, you can throw your Megatherium out in the first room, and it will have almost full access to the entire cave. With their insect killer buff, you will be slot capped in chitin in no time at all. They will also gather a ton of berries and fiber, so you will have to keep dropping that to be able to farm as much chitin as possible. The Megatherium is also the go-to boss fight creature for the Broodmother boss. They will also be able to harvest a ton of chitin from the spider minions that the Broodmother summons during the fight. With the big change to supply drops in Ark Survival Ascended, there's a high probability that they can be looted for rare and valuable resources. Here's a list of some of the resources you can find in these drops. White drops can be unlocked at Survivor level 3 and can be looted for charcoal, flint, hide, fiber, spark powder and other basic resources. Green drops can be unlocked at Survivor level 15 and can be looted for crops, crystal, oil, keratin, wool, raw prime meat and many more. Blue drops, Survivor level 25, can be looted for cementing paste, chitin, crops, cooked meat jerky, crystal, narcotics, oil, pelt, rare flour, rare mushrooms, soap, wool and many more. Purple drops are Survivor level 35 and can be looted for beer jars, cementing paste, chitin, cooked lamb chops, cooked meat jerky, cooked prime fish meat, cooked prime meat, gunpowder, leech blood, metal, metal ingots, pelt, sap, prime meat jerky, rare mushrooms, soap and many more. Yellow drops, Survivor level 45, can be looted for ammonite bile, angler gel, gasoline, organic polymer, raw mutton, silica pearls and many more valuables. And finally the red drops, which are Survivor level 60, can be looted for absorbent substrate, ammonite bile, angler gel, broth of enlightenment, electronics, gasoline, mywick tonic, organic polymer, hard polymer, raw mutton, silica pearls, sweet veggie cakes, black pearls and more valuables. Supply drops can also be looted for a wide variety of structures, and a lot of the time you don't even need them. So what you can do is place them down and demolish them for a 50% return of the materials used to craft that structure. Another useful thing I use supply beacons for is transferring heavy loads when out farming. When accessing the drop, go to the inventory tab and transfer your stacks of heavy items inside. Currently I'm on a Nitrado server and I'm sticking my items into the inventory tab, which I can later take out at a supply drop near my base. Currently there's probably no option to do this on official servers, as we're still waiting on server transfers to be enabled, but I do expect it to be something similar to Ark Survival Evolved, where when accessing the supply drops you'll see an Ark data tab, which is where you'll transfer your items to and from. And once this function comes to ASA, you'll most likely have 24 hours to take your items back out the drop before they disappear, just like in ASE. There are many ways to gather oil in Ark, the Basilosaurus being a great source of it. Their carcasses can be harvested for a substantial amount of oil. Another great way to passively produce oil in your base is by taming a Basilosaurus and a Tusoteuthis. Both passively produce oil in their inventory. The Basilosaurus will cap at 20 and the Tuso will cap at 70, where you'll then have to take it out for them to begin producing more. This oil does stack once taken out and it does have a spoil timer. The moss drops can potentially be the easiest and most useful creature you can tame when starting out your journey on the island map. They are most commonly found around the beaches around the map, which is where you always spawn in. They are a passive tame, with their preferred food being completely random, and if you get lucky with them wanting berries, you'll be able to tame one right away. They don't require a saddle to ride and can harvest almost anything and everything, minus rocks of course, which is extremely valuable when starting out. And with every level they gain, they will also gain a unique harvesting level up, which can be accessed via their radial menu, which will boost their harvesting efficiency in whichever resource you decide to level. The best way to gather rare flowers in Ark Survival Ascended is by heading to the swamp and hunting down the bushes that look like this. This spot in the swamp is a really good location. There are hundreds of these plants in this area, and you can keep heading east and you'll find more. For best results, you want to bring a Therizinosaurus and use the tickle attack on these bushes, which for some reason don't always give you rare flowers, but the majority of the time you will harvest a lot. And if you don't have a Therizino, you can always use a moss chops. They aren't as good as the Fairy, but they will still harvest a decent amount. And the best location to farm rare mushrooms is also going to be the stinky swamp. There are thousands of these trees that look like this. I'd highly recommend bringing either a Therizinosaurus or a mammoth, as the Fairy slap attack and the mammoth stomp attack will only gather wood and rare mushrooms, so you won't have to worry about them farming a ton of berries at the same time, and they're very capable of defending themselves from the dangers of the swamp. And if you come to this location on the map, so just spam those attack keys and you'll be coming out rich with rare mushrooms in no time at all. Rafts have an unlimited weight capacity. This makes the raft an extremely useful way to transport heavy materials. Ideally, if you have 2 people and some good harvesting creatures, while driving the raft into the swamp, one player can drive the raft and the other can sit on the creature. So if you're rafting through the swamp, you can slot cap your creatures full of wood in no time at all. And if setting sail through the rivers of the Ark, having a Dodecarus on the edge of your raft, constantly hitting rocks, will soon net you thousands and thousands of stone. Silica pearls are a bit of a nightmare to gather, let alone even see in Ark Survival Ascended. The best spots are typically in the deeper parts of the ocean, so they can be a bit of a nightmare to farm if not at the stage of unlocking scuba gear. There are a couple of locations on land that are easily accessible to the majority of players, albeit in the shallow waters of the ocean in the snow biome, so still not that easy of a location. And by far the best way to harvest silica pearls in Ark is with the anglerfish. And my preferred area to gather silica pearls is in this area on the left side of the map. This is right next to my base, so it's really ideal for me, and this exact spot is my go-to. So you just head straight down to the bottom of the ocean from here. There are tons of silica pearls in the ocean, and they are scattered throughout the entire seabed. There's quite a lot in this location. Another creature that I highly recommend taming that can give you access to these rich silica pearl locations without the need for scuba gear is the Diplocaulus. Once in water, you'll have the option to ride them via the radial menu. They act as a portable scuba tank at the cost of the creature's own oxygen stat. They can be extremely valuable in the early stages of the game if you don't have an anglerfish or aren't high enough level to unlock scuba gear. Another great thing about the Diplocaulus is that they deal 10 times their melee damage to trilobites. And trilobites can be harvested for large amounts of chitin, small amounts of oil, silica pearls, and black pearls. The best way to farm black pearls is by killing wild Tusoteuthis, alpha mosasaurs, and the alpha Tusoteuthis. Upon accessing the death cache of a Tusoteuthis, they can be looted for absorbent substrate, black pearls, and oil. However, the alpha mosasaur and alpha Tuso can both be looted for a substantial amount of black pearls, along with some more goodies, including having a high chance of dropping high quality fishing rods, with the alpha Tuso having a better chance of dropping them. Once you have yourself a good fishing rod, you're ready to go fishing. Fishing is a great way to farm resources and some of the best blueprints in the game. You'll be wanting to drag either leech blood or giant bee honey onto your fishing rod as the best forms of bait, leech blood being able to catch fish the size of 1.8 and giant bee honey being able to catch 2.4. And for best results, you'll be wanting to fish for saber-tooth salmon. The larger the fish, the better the results. So you probably want to kill the smaller fish off, because we're not interested in them. Find a good spot, stick your chair down, cast your line, and play the waiting game. Once the fish takes the bait, a mini game will initiate. You must press all keys that pop up on your screen within up to 21 seconds. Once the game is complete, you'll be rewarded with either a bunch of common and rare resources or some nice blueprints. This is a new variant of oil rock in Ark Survival Ascended. These rocks can be found very commonly around the shallow parts of the ocean right near the beach, so they are extremely accessible to newer players. They can't be harvested for half as much as standard oil rocks, but can still yield a decent amount. So this selected biome is the Redwoods biome, and there are some unique features you'll be wanting to know about the area. Firstly, any of the harvestable trees in the Redwoods have around 10 times the amount of health as any of the trees in the game, meaning you can harvest a lot of wood and thatch from these trees. Another important type of tree you'll find in the Redwoods are the gigantic non-harvestable trees. These are the trees you can attach tree platforms to, while beehives will also commonly be found attached to them. But the main reason why we're mentioning these trees is that they are the best source of sap in the game. To do this, you'll be wanting to craft a tree sap tap, which can be unlocked at level 36. And what I like to do is place a tree platform down and attach 4 tree sap taps around the tree. Each tap will then produce 1 sap every 10 minutes, which will cap at 30, where you have to take it out for them to begin producing more. The best way to manually harvest organic polymer is by taming a Pelagornis. The Pelagornis gathers exceptionally more polymer from younger penguins, so be sure to target the babies and juveniles first. They also have an 80% weight reduction for organic polymer in their inventory, and if you don't have access to a Pelagornis, the next best thing is the wooden club. Sadly, slaughtering poor penguins is currently the best way to gather organic polymer in the game. What you can also do, tame up a male and a bunch of females, have a moss chops in your base with all unique harvesting levels pumped into organic poly. Have your moss chops on aggressive as they gather more poly when not ridden, and they gather more from adult penguins. So pop out a load of babies, once they grow up, kill them off, and your angry moss chops will go to town. But you will harvest a decent amount of polymer doing this. I just wish they weren't penguins. Why do they have to be so cute? Another slaughterhouse you can set up in your house is with the Ovis. Ideally, you'd like to tame a high level male and female. The more health, the better. Breed up a bunch of them and stick them in the cryofridge to gain passive XP. Once you throw them out, you want to level up the health as much as possible. The more health, the more resources you get. Have a Ferrosiosaurus with all unique harvesting levels pumped into power harvest. Slaughter the sheep you've just leveled, hop on your Ferrazino and slash away. You will get slot capped by mutton at least 3 or 4 times, so you will have to keep dropping it or storing it away, but you will also gain a shed ton of hide and pelt. If you are looking to just harvest hide, you can always use their headbutt attack, which will only gather hide. Poor sheep, why do you have to make these creatures look so cute? And while on the subject of resource gathering strategies in the cover of your own base, let's introduce some of the most important creatures, one being the dung beetle. Once tamed in Ark Survival Ascended, via accessing the dung beetle's radial menu, we now have the option to enable feces collection. They will now automatically pick up any poop that your creatures leave on the ground in and around your base. Stick your dung beetle on wander and throw him in a cage. And over time, he will convert poop into fertilizer and oil, making the dung beetle a vital creature for any base. Secondly, we have the Achatina, and they work the same way as a dung beetle. Once set to wander, throw them in a cage, they will produce 1 Achatina paste in their inventory every 1 minute, which will cap at 100, which you'll then have to take out for it to begin producing more. They will also produce 1 organic polymer every 60 minutes, and will give it a 3-time spore timer. Be sure to spay your snails as you don't want them to constantly mate making babies, as they only eat sweet veggie cakes when tame, which is pretty expensive food. Damage matters. Here I use a primitive pickaxe and harvest 87 metal from this rock. In the next clip, I am using a 300% damage ascendant pickaxe, which will harvest the rock quicker and for more metal. As you can see, I got 112 from the exact same rock. This also works the same way when leveling a tame creature's melee damage. The Ankylosaurus makes for a perfect test subject. Here I have a perfect tame 140 Anky with 334 melee damage. After destroying the rock, we harvested 170 metal. So let's compare this to my bred Anky, raised from a baby and imprinted to me, 100% imprinted, which when ridden by me with the rider buff will increase his damage by 30%, and he has been leveled up to 836 damage. He can destroy the rock in 2 hits and harvest a whopping 249 raw metal. The more damage, the more tasty metal you receive. Boosh! The center of the volcano is the only place I visit to farm crystal, and it is an amazing location. There are hundreds of crystal nodes up here, and there are even some clusters that you can hit for what feels like hours and you're still going strong. There's not many crystal locations that beat this one. That is, unless you own a Dunkleosteus. You'll be wanting to head to this location on the map, and this is the entrance to the Caverns of Lost Faith underwater cave. And you're looking for these humongous glowing crystals, and it's crazy the amount of crystal you can harvest from these nodes. In Ark Survival Ascended, wild babies can now be found roaming the island. This makes taming carnivores at the early game much easier, as all you have to do is kill the babies and harvest them for their raw prime meat. Poor babies. If you're ever out on a meat run and want to gather meat or hide much quicker, but you find it's taking too long, and you just want to get back home and feed the kids, what you can do is chow down a load of rare flowers, which will make every nearby creature attack you, even passive creatures, making your meat run much quicker. Just be sure not to bite off more than you can chew. Who would have known that a toilet could be so useful? If you're after a bunch of spoiled meat, then the toilet is for you. So when you're ready to do the deed, stick a load of raw meat in your toilet, take a seat, have a poo, and all that meat you stuck in the toilet will instantly become spoiled meat. Every time you poop on the toilet, you will also gain a 33% experience buff that will last for 120 seconds. And once you flush the toilet, you'll also receive 1 fertilizer every time. I used to do this back in the day, but it is still a viable strategy of farming cooked prime meat. Have a Quetzal with a platform saddle, place down an industrial grill, stick a load of gasoline in it, fly around the map, kill wild creatures that drop raw prime meat, and cook it up on your grill. And doing this for 20 minutes, you'll come back with hundreds of cooked prime meat. Adding to this, you can name your Quetzal George Foreman. The industrial grinder is a great way of farming resources. Of course, it can be useful for grinding up weapons and armor that you're never going to use, for a small return on the resources used to craft them. But what I find it's most useful for is grinding up stone into flint. It can also grind up wood into thatch, and stone is far easier to harvest in this game as opposed to flint. Doing this also rewards your character with a bunch of XP. Underwater caves are great locations to visit and offer some nice resources all in one area. This is just one to show an example. Found in the snow biome, head to these coordinates. This is what the area looks like, right to the back of this iceberg-like island. While facing east, you want to head straight down from this location. And this cave is quite easy to find, as there's like a white bit of snow above the cave. And here's the cave entrance, right underneath that clump of snow. Here's the actual coordinates for reference. And in these caves, you'll find oil, crystal, and silica pearls. And there's quite a decent amount of silica pearls in this small cave. There are 12 of these underwater caves in total. Coordinates for all the caves can be found on the ARK Wiki GG page. Have you ever had to deal with this when out farming resources on the mountains? Or this when exploring the ocean? Well, let's clear that up for you, shall we? You'll be wanting to bring up the command console. If playing PC, you'll be wanting to press the tilde key. And if playing console, you'll be wanting to go to settings, advanced settings, and turn the console access on. After going back, you'll now find a console command option at the bottom left of your screen. And the command you'll be wanting to type in is r.volumetric fog space 0. Then hit return, and that will clear the fog and will make it easier to see in the ocean. There are a lot of commands out there that can improve visibility. However, most of them ruin the look of the game and it looks ugly. But I highly recommend using the fog command. It looks better and makes the game more enjoyable to play. The Therizinosaurus is the king of gathering and harvesting, minus rocks of course. They are equipped with 3 different attacks. The slap attack, which is great for harvesting wood, hide, rare mushrooms, any types of meat, and many other resources. Its tickle attack, which is great for harvesting fiber, rare flowers, plant species X, and many other resources. And finally, their bite attack. This attack is great for berries, is the best attack for harvesting hide and chitin, and many more resources. They also have unique harvesting levels just like the moss chops, which is accessible via their radial menu. With every level they gain, they also gain an additional harvesting level. I recommend having a separate Therizino for delicate and power, as you'll be wanting to focus all levels into one field. The delicate harvest will boost resource gathering with the tickle attack, and I believe the bite attack, and the power harvest will improve its gathering efficiency with the slap attack. And to perfectly end the video, please feel free to go check out my previous video, a quick guide on a great way to solo farm the endgame resource that is element. Link will be in the description of the video and in a pinned comment. And that is going to be the end of the video. It's been a marathon, I must say, and this video was a marathon to make and edit, probably one of my longest yet. So if you enjoyed the video or found it helpful in any way, I'd really appreciate if you consider liking, commenting, sharing around, and subscribing for more ARK content. If you're interested in checking out related videos, I have 2 perfect videos on screen right now. Hope you're all having a great Wednesday. I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care. Goodbye.